Welcome to the Hank Haney Podcast here on nofilter.net. You can see the Hank Haney Podcast on nofilter.net and on YouTube TV, the Hank Haney Podcast channel. You can hear the Hank Haney Podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. And the podcast today is brought to you by Bet Online, which is your number one source for NBA Finals and Stanley Cup playoffs this season. Hear every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game is over, head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of the 150 slot games. Head over to the website today, get in on the action, use the promo code BLEAV for your 50% bonus on your first deposit. That's Bet Online, where the game starts. betonline.ag, and you can get a bet in on the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, which is what I am going to be talking about and previewing today on the Hank Haney Podcast. The Pinehurst, number 2, one of the greatest golf courses in the world, without a doubt. Donald Ross Golf Course. And one of my favorite places in the world is Pinehurst Hotel and Country Club. I was the director of instruction for the Pinehurst Golf Advantage schools in the early 80s at Pinehurst Hotel and Country Club. It's a great story. I worked at Exmoor Country Club in Highland Park, Illinois, and I also worked with the John Jacobs Golf Schools after I graduated from the University of Tulsa. I was with the John Jacobs Golf Schools because Jim Hardy, one of the greatest teachers ever, lined me up to be a part of the John Jacobs Schools. And we went to Pinehurst to do a golf school. It's a great story. And I'll never forget this because this is where my career started at Pinehurst. We went to Pinehurst because they had a management changeover. And all the pros quit, and they needed somebody to teach their golf school. So they hired us, the John Jacobs Schools. We went down there, and while I was there, Mike Sanders, the director of golf, he asked me, would you be interested in coming back and teaching all of our schools here at Pinehurst? And I thought, wow, that's pretty good. Before you know it, I'm 23 years old, and I'm the director of instruction for the Pinehurst Golf Advantage Schools at the biggest golf resort in the world. And that is where I met Mark O'Meara. And I have had so many incredible things that have happened to me in my life and in my career, all because I was standing on that tee at Pinehurst Hotel and Country Club, and I met Mark O'Meara. He was 124th on the money list on the PGA Tour. 2 years later, after working with him, he was second on the money list on the PGA Tour, and all of a sudden, everybody thought, Hank Haney, you must know something. And before you know it, I had a lot of lessons, and I've had a lot of great things that have happened to me, like I said, all because of that one time at Pinehurst. My mother still lives in Pinehurst. I love Pinehurst, and I love the golf course. Donald Ross course. I grew up on a Donald Ross course, Exmoor Country Club, Highland Park, Illinois. But there's nothing better than the village of Pinehurst. Oh my gosh. If you haven't been to Pinehurst, you ever get a chance, you just, when you drive in there, you feel the history. You just know it's one of those places where, when you're at Pinehurst, you are at someplace special. And it is a special, and it's a different golf course, different for the U.S. Open. There's not the deep rough you see at U.S. Opens. I mean, they'll be rough, but the story is really the greens at Pinehurst and the waste areas. When you get off the fairway, you're gonna run into these waste areas, and you might get a good lie, you might get a bad lie, you might be in a tough of grass, you might not be in a tough of grass. But the big story is the greens. They all roll off. They're hard to hit. You can land on the green, but you're not going to make it stay on the greens. And when you're around the greens, you've got a lot of, they talk about all the options at Pinehurst, all the pros. They love the course because you got so many options around the greens. And the pros will practice all the options. I'll never forget, because I've been to the U.S. Opens there. This is the 4th U.S. Open at Pinehurst. And after this week, there'll only be like I think 8 courses that have hosted more U.S. Opens than Pinehurst, and there's 4 more U.S. Opens already scheduled at Pinehurst after this one. So it's an iconic venue. But one of the interesting things is because the greens all roll off, and they're very fast, and now they're very firm. Because it used to be, well, it used to be back in the day, it was a Bermuda grass golf course, and Bermuda grass tends to be firm and fast. And then they put bent grass in. They always struggled with the bent grass, but bent grass was always softer, ball would hold. And now they're back to Bermuda grass, firm, fast, hard. I was watching on the Twitter, on the X, and somebody dropped a ball on the green, and it rolled. And this was on a practice round. It rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled. Next thing you know, rolled off the green, rolled all the way into a waste area, like 40 yards away. So who knows what this is going to play like? I wouldn't put anything by the USGA, because the way they usually do these golf courses, there's no telling what's going to happen. Now, this is already a difficult golf course. I mean, in 1999, when Payne Stewart won, okay, and that's going way back, 1 under par was the winning score. Payne Stewart beat Tiger Woods by 2 shots there. In 2005, the winning score was even par, and Michael Campbell won. And Tiger lost by 2 shots in that one too, finished second. And that was I was with Tiger then. And that was, I have to say that the 2005 US Open is the one major that I look back at, and I feel like that was one, like when that tournament ended, I knew in my mind that one got away. That was one that shoulda, coulda been. A lot of 3 putts. I always talk about penalty shots, 2 chips, and 3 putts. There's not really penalty shots at Pinehurst unless you get stuck in one of those, grasses off the fairway, or up against a tree or something like that. The only real out of bounds, I think, is on the first hole to the left, and there'll be somebody who'll hit it over there, but not many. You got room to hit the ball. But it's the greens, it's the 3 putting, it's the 2 chipping, it's the chipping it on the green and having it roll off, chipping it up to the green, have it roll back. I mean, and that's the story. I always say penalty shots, 2 chips, and 3 putts, and that'll be the case this week at Pinehurst. But in 2005, when Tiger lost there by 2 shots to Michael Campbell, a great player from New Zealand, but it was the only major that Michael Campbell won. I can just remember walking out of that clubhouse thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this one got away. And, I was just watching, but I know Tiger felt the same way. That was a lot of 3 putts. I don't know how many, at least 6 3 putts, and lose by 2 shots. Oh boy. That was a tough one to take, no doubt about it. But an even par winning score. And then in 2014, Martin Keimer wins, and he blitzed it. He shoots 9 under par, putting from off the green everywhere. Remember on one hole, he putted around a bunker. He wasn't a good chipper. Putted around a bunker. Only two players finished under par. Eric Compton finished 1 under, and Martin Keimer won by 8 shots. 145 was the cut, 5 over par. So there's not, they could shoot some decent scores to make the cut, and then it got like super, super, super difficult. Guys were just shooting crazy high numbers in the last round. And I would expect that, based on what everybody's been talking about and the videos that I've seen, practice rounds, it'll probably be the same thing this year. I can't imagine with Bermuda greens, it's going to play easier. It maybe nobody will break par, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. Maybe somebody will break par, but if they do and they shoot many under, it'll probably be another Martin Keimer deal where they win by an absolute bunch, because there won't be many players under par. And the one thing about the U.S. Open is it's always the same thing. And Tiger mentioned this in his press conference. as soon as you get through the first round, you probably see what the winning score is right there. Like it's not going to like get lower every day. It just doesn't happen. And if you're out of it on the first day, the media and the TV and they'll talk about, oh, he's got needs a good round tomorrow to get back into it, and da 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 da, he's still got a chance and this and that. U.S. Opens get harder and harder and harder. The odds of a player winning that isn't in the top 10 after the first round they're very, very, very slight. There's not big comeback. I mean, there has been in the history of the U.S. Opens, but when you look at the big comebacks, it's usually like rain happened and the course played soft, and all of a sudden, there was a good score out there available. That's not going to be the case at Pinehurst. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid, but they're not supposed to get rain. And the golf course is super, super firm. And even if it does rain, the greens are so humped. The ball, the water will run off just like the ball is going to run off during every round. So it's gonna play super, super tough. It's a golf course that you have to be good around the greens. You're going to see a lot of putting from off the green. And when they had the U.S. Opens there, and I was there with Tiger, I was there with Mark O'Meara before that, and it was interesting because all the players in practice rounds, they play different shots around the greens. They're trying to figure out what to do, and they get there on Monday, and everybody's kind of got their get on the first hole, and you hit some shots around the green. And everybody's got their sand wedge out, okay, and it doesn't take them long to figure out that ain't going to work. And then, in the second or third hole, they got their, 9-iron out, and they're kind of bumping a little chip shot. And then the round continues, and they're practicing around the greens. And, before you know it, they're hitting a 7-iron and a 6-iron, and they're running up 4-irons. And back in the day, they did some putting from off the green with their hybrids or their fairway woods. And that was the shot. And then all of a sudden, Thursday comes around and everybody's putting, like everybody's putting. They're in a lob wedges. They're in a, bumping into the hill. They're all putting. And you will see an abundance of putting from off the green. So that's that's a skill that the players that have the best touch, that can lag the putts the best, they're going to be the ones that have a big advantage, because you're not going to hit a lot of greens. You could land the ball on the green, but you're not going to keep the ball on the green because the targets are super. These greens aren't big to begin with, but the amount of green that's receptive and that will actually hold and stop a ball is so small that hitting greens is going to be an absolute premium. And the best ball strikers, are always favored at the U.S. Opens. That goes without saying. But I also look for great short game players, and in particular, great lag putters are going to be the ones that probably have the best advantage. So when you look at the players that are picked to do well at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, it's no surprise. I mean, it's Scotty Scheffler. He's got 5 wins this year. He's the favorite. And he's a prohibitive favorite. I mean, you bet $100 to win $330. That's a big favorite right there. Those are the kind of favorite odds that Tiger Woods used to have. I mean, like the second best favorite is Xander Schauffele. Bet 100, win 1,100. Scheffler's bet 100, win 300. That's like crazy. Now you could get a bet on Scheffler to win by 4, and that's not a bad bet, because if you love Scheffler, I'd bet him to win by 4, because he's a guy that's got a chance to boat race everybody. And I think if the bet for him to win by 4, I think you bet 100. I think you win like 1,100. So and hey, Martin Keimer won by 8. So if I was going with Scotty Scheffler, I might just go all the way and say, he's gonna blitz him, because he's the player that has the chance to do that. But Schauffele's second favorite, Rory McIlroy, bet 100, win 1,200. He's right up there. And then drops off. You got Koepka, you got Colin Morikawa, you got Bryson DeChambeau. They're all looking, betting 100 to win, 200 or 2,000, bet 100, win 2,000. 20 to 1 odds. The best players are always the ones with the best odds. But when I look at this golf course, people always ask me like, Hank, who do you think's going to win the U.S. Open? Right now, Scotty Scheffler, because he's best player in the world. It's not even close. He's blitzed them all. Rahm's not playing. He's out with a foot infection. He hadn't been playing great anyways. A lot of people like certain players to win. They're pick. I see. I went on some of the websites. And they're talking about this guy's got a chance and that guy's got a chance and this guy's just this and that. And I'm like, picking winners in golf tournaments before you've seen how the course is going to play, really, really tough. Watch one round and pick somebody in the top 10 to win. That would be my deal. Pick somebody in the top 10 to win. After one round, pick somebody in the top 10 and you're gonna be right there. And my guess is it's going to be this. My guess is it's Scotty Scheffler or it's somebody you totally don't expect. I mean, it could be Rory, but I don't think it. My guess is here Scotty Scheffler or somebody you totally don't expect. Like I think that's where this one's headed right here, because it's such a unique venue. And I don't think, how somebody's playing coming into this, people go, this guy's hot, or this guy's playing good, or this guy's putting good, or this guy's doing this, or this guy's, I don't think it matters. I don't think that matters at all. Now, if you can get in contention, then you give you give it to the guy that, that's been there before, Scheffler, Koepka, Schauffele now, he's a big favorite because he won the PGA. You give it, you give the nod to those guys because of the experience. But if they're not there, and there's a good chance they're not, because all these top players, pick them all, Bryson DeChambeau, Jason Day, a lot of people like this, Ludwig Aberg, Max Homa, Wyndham Clark, who won last year, Victor Hovland, who played, good there at the PGA. I mean, they're all guys that you could put on your list. But until you've seen how they can handle the golf course, you're just taking a stab in the dark as far as I'm concerned. So that's why when they ask me, I always go with the best player. And send me, who are you going to pick? How can you not pick Scotty Scheffler? The only reason you don't pick Scotty Scheffler is because you don't like the odds. He's such a slight favorite win. But if you like Scotty Scheffler, you know what? I might take him to win by 4, because that wouldn't surprise me in the least. I think he's got a second and a third in the last 2 U.S. Opens. So he's a U.S. Open player. He's a player anywhere. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. But here's a bet. That I couldn't believe. Here's a bet I couldn't believe. Tiger Woods, okay, and this is unbelievable. Well, first off, you bet 100 to win like 2,500 or something like that. His odds are so high. I think it's 250 to 1 is what he is. So when do you bet 100, you win a bunch. Okay. He's so far up there, but the one bet that really caught my eye was Tiger to miss the cut. Okay. You bet $100 that he's going to miss the cut, and you make $130. That's all you make. So the bookmakers think, Vegas thinks, they think that Tiger Woods has little to no chance to make the cut. Now, I hear people talk about how it's not a hard walk, and I keep hearing about how he has all the shots. I mean, maybe does, maybe doesn't. But I'll tell you what he has at Pinehurst. He knows how to play the golf course. He knows how to play the golf course, and he's been there before. He's finished second there twice, and he knows that golf course. I'm not saying he's going to make the cut, but I will say this: if he's ever again going to do something, I've always said it's going to happen at Augusta or at an Open Championship. Pinehurst is as much like an Open Championship as you're going to get. Now, it's a U.S. Open. It's not an Open Championship. But Tiger's got 2 majors left this year. He's got the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and he's got the Open Championship. And those are the 2 golf courses, okay, that he could, if he's ever going to do something again, because every year you're playing 4 times a year. Every year you get farther and farther away from when you practiced hard. If you're Tiger Woods, he just can't do it. So this is it right here. Made the cut at the Masters. Didn't have a good go at the PGA. He's on a golf course that he is an easier walk. None of them are easy walks, but it's an easier walk, and it's warm weather. He likes it hot, easier walk, knows the golf course. This is it. This is it. This is it right here. This is it. It's happening. It's happening here, or it's happening at the Open Championship. And if it doesn't happen at those 2, and the odds are that it didn't happen. That's my prediction right there. So we'll see what happens, and like it always is, at least for the first 2 rounds. No matter how many times Scotty Scheffler's won this year, people are watching Tiger, and I'm particularly watching Tiger because I remember shoulda, woulda, coulda when one at Pinehurst in 2005 really I mean, like, really got away. Really got away. So who knows? You never know. Miracles happen, and it probably would be one, but you never know. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Remember to go to betonline.ag. That's your number 1 source for NBA Finals and Stanley Cup playoffs this season. You can place a great wager there. Head to the website and get in on the action. Use the promo code BLEAV for your 50% bonus on your first deposit. And I want to remind you that if you have arthritis pain or joint pain, muscle soreness, my Voodoo Pain Relief Cream, you go to voodoopainrelief.com. It is the absolute best product you can use. It is absolutely fantastic, and you will feel better, 100% guaranteed. Without a doubt, 100% guaranteed. Go to haneyuniversity.com if you want information on golf lessons from me. And I hope everybody has a great time watching the U.S. Open. I can't wait to do a little recap on the U.S. Open because I am looking forward to the U.S. Open at Pinehurst number 2. It's going to be a great tournament, I'm sure. Great tournament. All the best. And we'll talk to you soon on the Hank Haney Podcast.